Hello, everyone. My name is Maria. My friends and family call me Buddy, and I decided, excuse me, I decided to make a video because what I'm going through, I'm just wondering if other people are going through that. So my son, Jeremiah, I have two children. I have two boys. My first son had surgery at 6 months, and so that was hard. And then my second son was diagnosed with Down syndrome. They had suspicions around the holidays. He was born in March. So, but we got the diagnosis confirmed in February. So it was a month before he was born. And that was really tough. And I'm just kind of in this situation where, of course, with the diagnosis of my son, I've reached out to mental health and trying to get support. I'm in therapy. I'm on my fourth therapist. It hasn't been easy. I've been let down a lot by medical staff, mental health staff. I'm just so frustrated, and I feel like I'm being judged on the way I'm reacting instead of people understanding how they're letting me down. So with my first son, he was an emergency C-section, and for whatever reason, there was a false positive that I had fentanyl in my system. And then supposedly, then the next day, they said my son had meth, and I'm thinking, first, I've never done either of those in my whole life. And if I have fentanyl, why doesn't he have fentanyl? If he has meth, why don't I have meth? That doesn't make sense, And also, my hair is so long, it reaches my butt. So I told them, test my hair. You're not going to find none of that in my system, let alone while I'm pregnant. I'm not going to start, experimenting. So that was, it was traumatic because they called CPS on me, and it turned out that it was a false positive, and they didn't even apologize to me, and I think that's what's making this, what I'm going through, even more traumatic. I got CPS called on me again, and again, I'm just like, what did I do wrong? I reached out for help with my mental health when they started to suspect something was wrong with my son, Jeremiah. It was a really difficult time. I was going through a divorce. A lot of my friends were it was just a really, really hard time, and it still is. It's not over. I just feel like life's been take that, just kicking my ass left and right. And I'm just trying to find a way to navigate through all of that with no support. I don't have family. I don't have friends. I have one friend, one really good friend. Thank God for her. She's a single mom, and so me and her understand each other a lot, and I'm so thankful that I could talk to someone who resonates with what I'm going through. Because, yeah, it's just been really tough. So what I'm going through now is, I reached out for mental health support, and based on, a 20-minute conversation, somebody called CPS on me. And I'm starting to realize, this is something that needs to be talked about. It's I feel like I need to bring awareness to this. I never realized it was a thing. I don't think most times you realize that it's a thing until it happens to you. And I'm realizing, wow, okay, for one, I couldn't control the circumstances I'm in. I can't control that my ex-husband didn't want to be with me or be a family man, and he's just happy living his life, doing his own thing, living his best life. And I can't control that my marriage fell apart. I certainly did everything I could to try to work it out. And for that, I could totally walk away saying, I know I did everything in my power. And I told myself early on when we got back together, I told myself, if this doesn't work out, I want to make sure I did everything. So if I walk away, I can know that I did everything I could. And it just wasn't meant to be. That wasn't my person. It was really devastating. And so, just navigating the divorce, friendships not working, and not even because I did anything wrong, whether I lent someone money and they didn't pay me back, let them borrow my car, and then they just, it's like people resent you when you help them. It's such a weird dynamic. I'm realizing that I'm a friend that shows up for you, and if you need help, I figure out a way to help you. You know, and I feel like I'm being punished right now for like, I was certainly a good woman to my ex-husband, and just the way he's been going out of his way to make my life hell, like, which I also feel that didn't help. Like, I just feel like I'm being so provoked, and instead of people focusing on how they're letting me down or provoking, they're like, wow, you're kind of emotional, don't you think? Let me write that down, and it's so disheartening. um so they so based on a 20-minute conversation with like a mental health professional or whatever, I explained that when they told me my son has Down syndrome, I explained that I felt kind of like I disassociated from myself. Like I just checked out and went on to autopilot. And that, I think, is something that they were concerned about. Like, oh, you disassociated. Wait, what? But that's happened to me before. Like, and I think it has to do with trauma. It might help if I mention my background. I have anxiety, depression, PTSD. About 10 years ago, I found someone I really love, pretty much the only person I had in my life. I found them overdosed on opiates, and that really messed me up for a long time. It's been 10 years, and I'm doing a lot better as far as my PTSD, but it's kind of like now I have like motherhood PTSD, where, like I say, they called CPS on me when I had my first son and accusing me of being on fentanyl and saying he had meth, and that wasn't even true. Those are some pretty strong allegations, and they accused me of that and called CPS. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm telling them, test my hair, I'll pee in a cup again, whatever I got to do. Like, I know I have nothing to hide, and I think that's what makes it harder, like when you know you didn't do anything wrong. So I'm in the process of that, and it's kind of stressful because I know I have to, like, a lot of people say, oh, you got a good case, you should take them to court, you should sue them. So I certainly need to do that. My son is approaching 2 years, and I know the statute of limitations means that you only have 2 years. So if I am going to pursue legal, that I need to do it ASAP. And I am going to, because yeah, I have a strong case, and they really, I just feel robbed of my experience. Like, it's my first child. I just gave birth. I'm all on my own. There's no one here for me. And you guys accuse me of some like really wild, outrageous crap, and then it's not even true. So that was really tough. And so I think that's why this time, like them calling CPS on me, it just is not making sense to me. And I'm wondering, does this happen to people a lot? I guess what I'm realizing and what I want to bring awareness to is I almost feel like um, there's a discrimination that exists. Like for me, I feel like I'm being discriminated against because I have mental health issues. And my son has Down syndrome, special needs. And so that right there, I just have noticed, it just barely made sense to me, like yesterday. And it's been really hard for me to digest. But Um, yeah, they called CPS on me for reaching out for mental health support. I have no support. I live on my own. I have two under two, going through my divorce. My ex just is so disrespectful. When I went in to give birth to my second son, the one who has Down syndrome, Jeremiah, he shows up to pick up my first son. He's an hour and a half late, like 2 hours late. I was supposed to be at the hospital at 6. He shows up at like 7:30. And so that's like, for one, you're late. And then two, you're just full of hickeys. Like, so rude. Like, this whole experience, my motherhood experience has been, I don't know if this is something a lot of people could relate to, but I feel like there's a lot of conflicting feelings, and that's so hard for me to understand how I feel about motherhood, because on one hand, I'm the happiest I've ever been. The love I get from my kids. I should mention that I'm an identical twin, and my twin was a stillborn. Her name was Josefina. I really wanted a girl so I could name her after my twin. Um, you know, but so I've always felt this void in my life, like something was missing. That's really a thing. A lot of people, when they find out I'm a twin, they ask me, is it true that you go through life feeling like something's missing when your twin is gone? That is totally a thing. It's almost like a bottomless pit of a void, in your heart, soul, and you just know something's missing. And since I had my kids, it was probably the first time I didn't feel that way. Like, I finally felt like whatever void I had is finally full with the love of my children. And I'm so happy for that. Like, everything could be falling apart, and I still will just thank God that I have my kids. And I love them so much. And even though it's been hard, like, when you're told that your child has Down syndrome, I mean, everybody reacts different. And I felt like ashamed to kind of say how I felt about that. I was feeling like, is he going to scare me? Is he going to freak me out? Is he going to, like, I just didn't know how I was going to feel about my son. And I think that's really a thing people can go through with your second child, as it is, if they have no issues, like a typical child. I've been told by mothers that you do wonder if you're going to love your second child as much as your first one. And then especially if they tell you that that child, has like a disability or something. I just didn't know how I was going to feel. Now that he's here, I love him to death, and he's so precious. And now that I know how I feel towards him, and I'm like, he's just my kid, and whatever he has, I think just as mothers, we've learned how to figure it out, whatever it may be, whatever comes at us while we're being a mother, we have to figure it out and still show up for our kids. And that's just what I've been doing, is just figuring it out and trying to navigate through this road. It's been such a difficult journey. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, this has been the hardest time of my life. I thought finding the person I loved most dead on the floor, like, I thought that was the hardest time of my life. But this is the hardest time of my life, because I'm going through a divorce with someone who I was with since I was 15 years old. They were the love of my life. Oh, I loved this man so much. And so for him showing up when I'm about to give birth to our second child, and you're full of hickeys, like, that really, it hurts. Like, and I just don't understand how I deserve that. And I know it doesn't have nothing to do with me, and it says a lot about the person who does that. But it's hard for you to not take it personal and make it about you, you know? Um, and you just start feeling bad about yourself. And so I'm just in this period where I kind of feel like there's so many things, there's so many moving parts. And even just dealing with one of those things would be so hard for somebody. But I'm dealing with all of those things, and I'm trying to find a way to get through it. And it's hard, And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I think people need to be aware that when your child's in the NICU and you have mental health issues, that's a red flag, and they're looking at you. And so if you're sensitive like me and you love your, I mean, it's just so unfair because of course you're going to break down. Like for me, my son who, when he was born, I barely, like, they just rushed him to the NICU. I didn't get a chance to hold him. I didn't get a chance to do skin to skin, breastfeed, have my moment, go into my, I call it like a honeymoon stage with my kids. I feel like my motherhood experience when I'm on maternity leave, it's like our honeymoon, me and my kids. And it's our time to like just fall in love with each other and nurture. And I love to nurture my kids. And it's like, it's almost like hugging my inner child too. And I have found such a purpose in being a mom, and I take this position, like, I don't take it lightly. I want my kids to be whatever the world needs, you know, understanding, compassionate people, non-judgmental, empathetic, and I really hope my kids turn out that way. I can't help what I've been through. I can't control, sometimes, this is my interpretation of it, right? I mean, trauma is subjective. So my interpretation of this is, you know, I could be wrong, I could be right, but I just feel like there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shaming of mothers who have mental health issues. Someone who has Down syndrome, you know, it's just been a really hard road, and then doing it all on your own. I mean, people are calling you nonstop. All these organizations want to meet your kid and evaluate your kid. And oh my gosh, it's like musical chairs in my house now. And it's so hard for me. Like, there's times where, like, oh my God, it's so hard to keep up with all the appointments that I have. And I'm doing them all on my own. My ex has not taken them to a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, and nothing. I do everything on my own. And I kind of feel like, you know, at least just respect me because of that. Like, just at least consider how I feel about, like, I don't want my child on social media. He doesn't care. He still posts my child. And he keeps in touch with people that I don't keep in touch with and have found to be toxic. And I don't want them to have access to my kids like that. I'm very protective of my kids. Um, I kind of feel like I'm kind of fucked up because of so much crap I've been through in my childhood and then adulthood, and the jabs don't stop coming. You're constantly being tested. And you know, so it's just been a tough road, especially when you don't have support. And I just wonder how many other people are going through that. I just wonder how much of a thing is this. And of course, when CPS, like when they come, I have nothing to hide. I show them, look, we're stocked on food. We're stocked with diapers, wipes, anything my kids need. We're stocked. If something happened and we couldn't leave, we're good here for a while, you know? So I'm very thankful about that, because at least when they do come, I can show, like, look, what do you want to see? You want to see their food? Do you want to see their room? Do you want to see their body? There's no bruises. I don't hit my kids. I don't yell at my kids. Of course, as moms, we get frustrated and sometimes we're like, just, you know, but then of course, checking ourselves. And yeah, so I really don't get much things right in life, but I will say, being a mother, like, that's one area that I know my kids know I love them. And they're both boys, they're mama's boys. Anytime you see my kids, you just can see that they're mama's boys. They love me and they stare at me. It's just been something that I've always been so hungry and thirsty for, is just that unconditional love, you know? And but it just hasn't been an easy journey. Like, just I've been let down a lot on the journey. So it's just been really tough. So we're approaching 20 minutes here. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, and just let me know what you think. And hopefully, I mean, I know there's always gonna be trolls or whatever. I'm not here to impress anybody. I don't care what you think, how I look. I'm just here to bring awareness about what I'm going through, specifically just how I feel there's a discrimination against mothers who have a child with special needs, a child that was in the NICU, and just being discriminated against for having mental health issues and like shamed and punished because you don't have a support system. Even though I'm actively like participating in therapy, and there's a lot of resources for Down syndrome, and I'm like open to Jack's Basket and all these different resources for Down syndrome. And so, I'm trying to open up our world here, meet people, and build our new community. And the good thing is, I've been having a lot of experience, like with my neighbors, have been very understanding. And I kind of have explained to them, like, hey, you know what? If you guys see me and I'm stressed out, I look stressed out or going through it, trust me, I am. Please don't judge me right now. I'm getting a lot of like just crap from people. CPS is wanting to come and look at my kids, and that's frustrating, especially when this is my second time that CPS has been called on me and I didn't do anything wrong. And especially it just kind of makes me a little upset because I'm like, are you guys knocking at my ex-husband's door? Like, he's the one who walked out, decided he didn't want to be a family man, and totally changed the trajectory of my life, my kids' lives, by just letting us down. We can't force him to be here, so I just have to take the L and take it for what it is, accept it. That's all I can do, just accept things right now. This is the season of my life where I'm having to learn how to accept things, like accepting my son's diagnosis. That was very difficult, and I had no control over that. I couldn't control his diagnosis. I can't control the fact that my marriage didn't work out. And as hard as I tried, I did so much for this man. My family and people just that loved me, like, really, it was hard for them to see me do so much for somebody. And I believed so strongly in him. And then just the way he let me down, it was like validating that everybody else was right and I was wrong. I felt so stupid. I still feel stupid, but going through that and processing those emotions, I'm a strong believer. You got to feel it to heal it. And I just go through those. It doesn't help that I'm a really sensitive person, and that's another thing I want to add that has not made it easy. I feel discriminated against right now because I have mental health issues. And so, like, let's say your child's in the NICU, there'd be times where his health would seem like it was improving, but then he would regress and the machines would start going off, and then the nurses are rushing in, and then I'm crying, and then they're looking at me. And so when you're just a sensitive person like this mama here, there's just a lot of shame. There's just a lot, and I don't think they understand what that feels like from the mom who's on the receiving end of that. Like, and I try explaining that to people. Of course, I'm going to take it hard. My child is in the NICU. Any mom would take that hard. But yes, I'm going to probably take it harder because, one, I'm a sensitive person. Two, I'm on my own. I'm doing, and then I just have the background of like trauma, depression, and anxiety. So, yeah, totally just, and now what I'm learning, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for this, and I might get backlash. I don't really care. But it's almost like what I'm learning is stop talking to these people. They're not your friends. The nurses in the NICU are not your friends. They're mandated reporters, and that's fine. Of course, if I'm doing something to harm my kids, by all means, call CPS, call the cops. Like, of course, my kids come first. Their safety is first. It's important. But when you haven't done anything wrong, and you're just a sensitive person, and you're just reacting like any mom would react when your child's in the NICU and they're shaming you, and then you start crying, and then they're like looking for the social worker, and the social worker rushes in and they're eyeing the nurses like, wait, is it this one or that parent? And then you see like those really subtle, they might think it's subtle, but I'm really big on reading the room, and that just didn't feel nice. It didn't feel nice that the machines are going off. My son is on oxygen. You're telling me he has a heart problem. He has Down syndrome. I'm thinking of the road ahead. what does this mean for my future? I still don't know what that means, how my future is going to look like once I get off maternity leave. The machines are going off, I'm crying, and you guys are rushing in, and like, it's like you guys are taking that as a sign, like as a red flag, you know? And it's just so screwed up. And I'm learning now, like, had I known that this was a thing that happens, in retrospect, going back, I would have totally, like, if I was going to break down, just pretend I had to go to the bathroom, go for a walk, break down, not in front of these people. Because when you're breaking down in front of these people and they're rushing in the social workers and they're calling you out for crying and being emotional, that's fucked up, you know? So anyways, let me know what you think. I just don't know, you know, if this is something people could relate to. And if you do, I'm so sorry if you went through that, you know. Sometimes we're happy when somebody could relate to us, because when you're going through a hard time, you think that you're the only one going through that, and it's so hard, you know. So when someone relates to you, on one hand, you're so thankful because you're like, thank you, you know, you could relate to me. But then you also, at some point, understand that it means that they went through a lot of pain to understand that. So you're not happy they went through the pain. It makes you sad because someone who's sensitive, being through that pain, you know how hard that is. But you're just so relieved that someone understands, you know. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and let me know what you think. Please don't attack me about, you know, I haven't brushed my hair and don't have makeup or whatever. And, you know, it's kind of like nervous when you like make a video, you kind of think to yourself that, oh, they're going to call out just all my imperfections and my flaws or how I look or whatever. And that's not really what this video is about. It's mainly just bringing awareness to the fact, like, of how I feel right now. I feel like I'm being discriminated against because I have mental health issues. And it sucks because on one hand, I'm so proud of myself because I had the courage to say, hey, I'm struggling and I need help. And then people let you down, and then you're still actively working to get another therapist, and you're falling through the cracks and people are letting you down, and it's just so frustrating. Like yesterday, the CPS lady came, and me and my ex don't have a really good relationship. He really let me down and broke my heart. Oh, such a bad way. That's another episode. But we don't have a really good relationship. And so the fact that CPS is coming and looking for me and they're asking for his phone number, I was like, are you guys going to call him? Don't give him rope to hang me with, especially I'm not guilty of anything. I haven't done anything wrong. Oh, no, we're not going to call him. And if we do, we'll let you know. So she calls me to, first of all, she said she was going to meet me Monday, Tuesday. Yesterday was Wednesday, right? Yeah. And so she meets me like on another day than what she said. And, you know, she says she wants to see my oldest son, and I guess to make sure he's okay. I don't have nothing to hide. Come whenever. So I said, yeah, come whenever. I was on my way out, but I stuck around. And when she shows up, she tells me that she called my ex and told him what was going on. And I'm like, you said you weren't going to call him. And I just got so pissed. Like, I'm big on your word. If you tell me you're not going to, if I voice that I'm so concerned that you're going to call my ex, especially when these allegations are just not true, and then you say you're not going to call him, and then you still call him, and then I'm emotional, so of course I let her know, bitch, you fucked up, you let me down, and that's not okay. And then I'm emotional about it, sensitive person again, you know, and she called me out on that, and she's like, wow, I noticed you're really emotional, like your emotions went up and then down and then up and down. And I'm like, you let me down. Instead of focusing on how I'm reacting to that, why don't you focus on the root cause? You gave me your word as a professional that you were not going to call my ex-husband. And you called him. So now I don't want him to know I'm depressed. You know what I mean? Like, we're going through a divorce. I don't need him to know that I'm struggling with that. Why are you telling him that? And so he's calling me and he wants to have this conversation, and oh, she said you were going through depression. And I'm like, don't I have the right as a patient to have that confidentiality? I don't want you to know I'm depressed. You don't need to know that. You're making me depressed. You've let us down. You've changed the trajectory of my lives, my kids' lives. I have to be like, it's so much pressure on me. When I'm not okay, the kids, it's like, do you think about that? So it's just been like, and so he called and he wanted to talk about it, and it's just like not a conversation I wanted to have. Not something I wanted him involved in. I didn't want, like I say, I don't want him to know I'm depressed. I just, yeah, just a big violation of my trust. And it's so hard because when they do that, you almost feel like I'm in this position because I accepted your guys' help. So once they called CPS, I almost wanted to shut down people coming in my house and being in my lives, and no, you're not a safe place, and no, get out of my house. But then that looks like neglect too. Oh, you're not going to give your child the... So it's just so screwed up, and I'm just so tired of the medical staff like letting me down, and it probably is important that I mention that, like, for example, when I was pregnant with Jeremiah, I really wanted a girl, because I wanted to name my daughter after my identical twin who passed away. And I wanted to have a gender reveal. And so right before they told me the results of what they found out from genetics, that he was testing positive for Down syndrome, that's when right? And I told the doctor, I'm thinking, you're a doctor, you must be smart. But let me just remind you that I don't want to know the gender of my child. Okay, sure. So I explained to her, hey, I just want to remind you, I still want to know if it's a girl or a boy. I'm going to do a gender reveal. And she says, oh, yeah, okay. So when she pulls up the screen and she shows me that my child tested positive for Down syndrome, on the screen it's showing that he has a XY, which is indicative of a male fetus. And I'm like, bitch, you just ruined my surprise. I didn't want to know if he was a girl or a boy. So you ruined that surprise, and on top of that, you're telling me he has Down syndrome. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm so tired of feeling let down by the medical staff, by mental health professionals, maybe just what I'm going through is heavy. I get it, trust me, I'm going through it. I'm the one, this is my reality. So yeah, I get it. It's deep, it's heavy, it's a lot to process. And I've learned that in this era of my life, because of how deep and heavy everything I'm going through is right now, you learn that a lot of people don't have the capacity. For one, they don't care, No, not everybody wants to hear your story. Like the time and the inconvenience, like just what it takes away from people and the heaviness. They don't want to hear your story. Not all people want to hear your story. And then when they do hear your story, they judge you. And so I'm just learning in this era that not everyone has the capacity to understand. And I didn't know that early on. So when people would ask me how I'm doing, oh, my child has Down syndrome, and I had to break down, and then I just like, oh, you're being negative, oh, you're complaining, oh, you're this, you're that, oh, like, talk to me about something positive. Well, but what if you're depressed? You're not going to be a positive person. You're not going to be the most uplifting, motivational person, you know? And so, and it's hard because I've lost a lot of people because of the heaviness of what I'm going through, and they don't have the capacity to deal with it. And then they're judging you for how you're dealing with it. And I just think to myself, let me remind you, you can't even handle hearing about what I'm going through. But you're going to judge me for how I feel about what I'm going through. It's happening to me. This is my reality. And if I cry, I'm being judged about that. If I'm saying, hey, this is kind of messing with my mental health, I think I want to be in therapy, then that's used against you. It's just so screwed up. So, anyways, I don't know where this video is going to go. And so we shall see. Be nice in the comments, please. And I just mainly, like I say, I just want to know if anyone else has been through this, if they've can resonate with what I'm going through. If you can resonate with what I'm going through, if you've been there, I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart. I know how hard it is. And yeah, you have to actively work at fixing yourself, you know. It didn't work out with the first couple therapists, but I'm still actively looking for, and now the therapist I have now, thankfully, she has a background in trauma. So that's good, because I think a lot of things, how I respond to things, has a lot to do with the things I've been through and the trauma. And it's so disheartening because you just reach a place where you just feel like people can't relate to you anymore. So I've learned, when someone asks me, "How's your day?" I just say, "Oh, good. How's your day?" I just don't go there with the people anymore. Um, just my therapist. Now I've realized. So anyone who's in that stage where you're pregnant, you have mental health issues, you're sensitive, you're a crier, just be aware um, that this is a thing. Like, you kind of are going to get backlash. And it's good that they're concerned about the kids. And it's good. I don't have nothing to hide. They can come, they can look in my house, they can look at my kids, see that there's no scratches, bruises, or whatever. They can show up unannounced anytime they want. I don't care. I have nothing to hide, and I'm very happy about that. The person that was assigned to me, she, like, the one who let me down and called my ex, she's closing the case because even though on that 15-20 minute call where I'm like, I disassociated when I found out my son's diagnosis, and then she's like, shaming me for that. Yeah. Anyways, and I forgot I'm just rambling on at this point, going on a tangent, and that's just what I do sometimes. So anyways, so I'll end this video. You guys have a good day. Okay, bye.